really over the top live, and the audience responds to that, but that doesn't necessarily translate on record because the energy of the crowd's not there with you in the studio, and you're not feeding off that. It's a natural thing that occurs. I mean, you have advantages when you're playing live because you have the crowd to feed off of and the whole atmosphere of the night or whatever. And then in the studio, you have advantages, that are more technical. Some people, try to imitate their live performance as much as possible in the studio, whereas we really look at them as completely different animals and don't limit ourselves to that kind of thinking pattern.
I think it makes a big difference because when you experiment in the studio, it gives you a chance to literally hit things that you've never even tested before. If you've been playing a song for a while, and some of the, not all these songs we've been playing for a long time, but a couple of them we've been playing for a while, by taking a slightly different approach to them in the studio, it allows you to kind of give a fresh take on a song that maybe you've been playing for a while. Plus, what sounds good in the studio isn't always necessarily what works live and vice versa. Sometimes you can do more with what you've got in the studio, and then once you're done with it, then you figure out how to make that happen live.
Time fades away, but old wounds they never seem to heal. No one is right, and everything is wrong.
We have done that a lot. We'll throw on, tons of tracks, and then we'll go to mix down. We end up throwing away several tracks, because we realized during the mix process that we were just, stepping all over the song with too many ideas. And sometimes we probably still put too many ideas on songs,
Well, we're pretty merciless editors. I mean, there's not a single ego among us when it comes to wiping out tracks. If a track doesn't fit the song, no matter how long we may have worked on it or how great we may have thought it was at the beginning, if it doesn't fit the song and it's making things worse, you just yank it. I thought about it a lot when we first started working, but a lot of those preconceptions I lost as we went through the process, because I think that when you're recording, sometimes inspiration is more important than the planning. When you go through and you start thinking, well, how can we get all these songs to weave themselves together? I mean, the common thread of all the songs is we're the ones playing them. And the reality is the five of us collectively are not going to sound that dramatically different from song to song. A song like Strike You Down is a very heavy, hard rockin' kind of song, but there's nothing in that song that necessarily lends itself any differently to what we did than See Me Through, which is a much mellower, almost even country-ish kind of song.
Little man said, sit down, son. You better lemonade at your work here's done. Let me show you to the door. 9 years.
I don't know, I think you have to take them individually. I think you have to look at them as an individual entity and not worry too much sonically about where it's going to come from. Even though we're picking different sounds for guitars and slightly different sounds for bass and stuff from one song to the next, it's not that dramatically different. It's not so different because we're still the ones playing the instruments. We're still the ones making those choices.
We still have our bag of tricks that we turn to, and they're typically the same bag of tricks. You pick up tricks along the way, but you tend to go to familiar things, like with See Me Through, there was some preconceived notions on that one. I know that I immediately heard an accordion on that song, and we ended up with a harmonium, but it still served the same purpose. A lot of things just kind of happen, and they just fall into place. We try to just allow things to happen, that's one thing we're pretty good about doing. Overthinking it?
Definitely overthinking it. You can overthink a song to death, and you can play it 1,000 times until sucked every ounce of life out of it.
One thing I've learned over the last couple of years is that, you're not going to make or break a song with how kick-ass the guitars are, or how great the drum sound or bass sound or whatever. If the song's good, it'll stand. Almost no matter what you do to it. If it's a bad song, there's nothing you can do to save it.
You can put a tuxedo on a turd; it still smells like shit. And that's pretty much the bottom line. So if you go into
what would your mother think of you?
if you go in the studio with crappy songs, there's not any amount of production that you can put on them that are going to make them great. And if you go in the studio with good songs, it's pretty difficult to screw them up.